the mainstream media, they hate Trump so much, and they hate Twitter now so much because of the guy that runs it, and they have no control over it, you see, anymore, that they kind of lost it when it was decided that Elon Musk and Donald Trump would do this little interview together. It was a 2-hour-long discussion, and the mainstream media was furious. I mean, absolutely furious. Leading up to the whole thing, everybody was all angry. And then, of course, coming out of it as well. We have these headlines. I want to show you guys because this graphic is pretty darn amazing here. This is the mainstream media's reaction. Ooh, they're mad. Okay? They're really, really mad. How dare you have listened to that interview? If you were, you would have been one of 84 million people in real time. Those numbers will grow and grow and grow, as Elon Musk was tweeting out today. 16.4 million listened. Forgive me, 84 million views on the post. That 84 million, that was this morning, okay? That was this morning when we took that. So I guarantee you, I mean, this is just growing and growing. Forgive me, this was yesterday, I guess. So this is just growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. This is going to be massive, 84.2 million. So I guarantee you those numbers are even higher. And this is what's making them so mad. I mean, I look at them like, are you guys jealous? Is that it? It's in part jealousy, but it's more than that, you see, because now they're not going to have the kind of control that they want over the narrative. And there's a lot of money at stake. There are a lot of people that put a lot of money into these big media companies, and they expect to be somewhat rewarded in kind. And so they're going to go after this. You had the Harris campaign getting completely unhinged. They were so angry that this was going down that they sent out this email. You see that? Oh, first of all, they're soliciting for funds. Chip in some more dollars. We want your money. Right now, Elon Musk is interviewing Donald Trump live on... This is just a little petty, right? She writes Twitter. We're not calling it X. By the way, this is not them writing it. Just in case anybody had any questions, Harris doesn't do any of her own writing. Somebody else does it for her. Same with Waltz. These are not smart people. They're not going to do that in the first place because they're probably also, dare I go out on a limb and say, a little bit lazy too. So they write, or someone writes for them. It's not enough that Musk has pledged to donate millions of dollars to help reelect Trump. He's using his purchased platform, one of the largest social media sites in the world, to spread Trump's unhinged and hateful agenda to millions of users. Wow. And then they hit on the fact that these guys are rich. And so you can't like them because they are rich. I'm blown away by this. She said, Musk is using his vast fortune and broad reach to try to control our democracy. Look, I get it. It's good politics, right? It sounds good. Is it reality? I actually think that Elon Musk is losing his fortune in an effort to protect our very First Amendment. I mean, you know how much money he paid for this. I thought he overpaid at the time, but I told you that deal was going to go through, did I not? I told you it was going to go through because there was no way the Delaware court was not going to allow it to go through, even though nobody in Delaware or anywhere else, for that matter, that happens to be in the so-called sort of establishment class, ever wanted it. They did not want Elon to own Twitter because, like it or not, even though Threads is trying to come into action, a few other things, I mean, heck, even Truth, right? Truth Social. The reality is news breaks still on Twitter. So if you're watching me on Twitter, we're streaming this live. Thank you very much. We're also streaming. I can see all those comments live on YouTube right now, as well as Facebook, everyone. So it is good to have you. I'll tell you, this is pretty darn amazing. They are jealous. They are frightened. They are worried that somebody else is going to get ahead. And I'll tell you, this happened throughout at least my lifetime. I mean, I think about every Republican candidate going back to Regan. They've hated all of them. And they've tried to destroy them. I mean, think about what they did to Romney. Think about what they did to Bush. And now suddenly Bush and Romney, they're all on the A team, right? Because Bush and Romney don't like Trump. But remember what they did to them. It just so happens that Donald Trump is standing up to them and saying, hey, bring it on. I'm ready. And I'm going to dish it right back to you. And Elon's doing the exact same thing. So yes, they did this little interview. It went, in my estimation, really well in that we were able to hear from Donald Trump, and we heard a lot of policy from Donald Trump. And I think that's important because we don't hear that, shall we say. from the Harris campaign. We get no policy, more on that coming up. But, I will say this. When I look at the coverage, I noticed that they were really hung up on the fact that this thing got off to a rough start. So if you were following this last night, what you would see is, yes, it did get off to a rough start because you couldn't get in, right? It said it was unavailable. And so eventually they were able to fix these technical and mechanical glitches, fortunately. And when they did that, there was just, tens of millions of people that tuned in. But of course, all the media could focus on was this glitch at the top. I think it's actually rather relevant to hear from Elon Musk, who explains exactly what he believes happened. The media was very angry about this too. He's like, oh, he has no proof. He has no proof. How can he say this? Well, I am familiar with DDoS attacks, and they're not that hard to pull off. In this case, could he have been better prepared? I don't know. I'm not enough of a tech savant, but I'm guessing, given that it was Elon, he was prepared for a lot, just not exactly whatever somebody else decided to send his way. Let's take a listen to his explanation. When he first came on, he explained just exactly what went down.
All right. Hello, everyone. My apologies for the late start. We unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines. Like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say, and but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation, and it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. It's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. So and this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. And so you can understand, like, what is what is it just like to have a conversation? So honored to Donald, great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people. And it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And so we have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you.
And off they went. Once they finally could. So there's this one account that's not Elon's. I think the title of it is I Am Not Elon. Anyway, they had a funny post. They actually put up something. And I think it's kind of a good question. I think we have it for you. Basically, who do you think is responsible for this? Who do you think? And then they give you choices. It's like a multiple choice question. And, there's the likely players like Iran, for example, Russia, China, Zuckerberg, U.S. deep state, or other. I just thought that was funny. So I'll ask you guys, since it's a live show, what do you pick? A, B, C, D, or E? A is Russia, B is China, C is U.S. deep state, D is Zuckerberg, E is other. Okay, we're going to take a look at those responses from you momentarily. But before we do, that's a good question, right? That's kind of a funny question.